Hello again, Donna. Thank you for willing to meet with me and help me with this Talking Tech project with involving women and girls with the organization.
Thank
Um,
you, Natalia. Thanks for having me.
so first, let's get started with the introductions. And do you mind talking about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Jana Nasrah, and I work in the digital technology space. I've been part of IBM's global public sector team for the past few years, based in Dubai. Before that, I was a student at the George Washington University in DC, where I studied international business and I minored in journalism. That's really where my passion for public sector was developed, living in the nation's capital.
So you mentioned that basically, journalism was part of your path. Can I ask, what inspired you for this field besides that, or how did that develop for you to reach this organization and this project that you're working on?
I would say that I explored while in college, I explored different fields, including journalism, including business, including technology. And I really found that I wanted to work in consulting, which is kind of a flexible field to get started with as a business school graduate. And I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to do technology consulting, but that's where I ended up at IBM. And I really fell in love with the field. And this is where I see myself long term.
May I ask, how long have you been working in this field?
I've been working for over 7 years, just right out of college until now. I've been at IBM the whole time. So it's been
Yeah.
my only job, and I'm loving it so far.
Did you have the support from your family when you made this transition of changing careers or the path that you wanted to choose?
I did. So it was my first job, and I did get the support from my family. They've always kind of encouraged me to follow my passions, and it was actually my father who encouraged me to study business because it was a kind of a flexible major.
Yeah.
But looking back, I do feel like working in tech, you could have all types of backgrounds. So you can come from a humanities background, engineering, HR, and really excel in technology because technology is really about people. So I think regardless of your major, this would be a great field to explore if that's what you're interested in. And Natalia, what about you? What are your interests and passions?
To recall, I really like technology. Back in the day, I guess 2010, 2009, when iPod was releasing and Apple was becoming a big thing, or MP3 players. I just like really like the idea how they customized the devices and bringing everything together, developing new ideas, designing it. So that got me into technology. And back then, I was the eldest with another sibling.
Mhm.
And the reason why I asked you if you had the support was because in my story, I didn't have the support for that. For my family back then, technology was actually being a new thing. So I didn't have my family reflect on that or see it as a career, as they say. So they just wanted me to become like a doctor or just have a regular career, like a stable
Mhm.
job, as they suppose. But even though I tried that, deep down, I still had a thing for technology. I was still up to date with the new devices, IAs, new services around the world, and just, like a little side secret for myself. But
Mhm.
finally, I graduated with the associates for liberal arts, which is not much, but it's still something. And I finally decided to take the risk and accept computer informational systems as my major. And I'm actually
Great.
excited because when I told my parents, they were shocked, but at the same time, I felt courage that and brave that I actually told them and decided to risk it for myself because it's going to benefit me and it's
Mhm.
something I won't regret. So
Great. Congratulations. That sounds really exciting and well done for how did you learn your technical skills? Was it just online coding camps or hands-on? How did you get into?
In middle school, they offered programs like coding or Python and different writing scripts and all. I think Java was one. I'm not sure,
Mhm.
but I was really into robotics as well. So I was
Wow.
kind of like a small nerd in the side, in all respect. But yeah, I always found services online or just went to YouTube and then just saw how other people would solve or create different programs and so on. So I pretty much had like a little notebook where I would just like write new ideas or try to do the same thing and see if I could actually manage it. So it was something nice.
It's very impressive.
Did you have any habits or small, like let's say, small ideas where you would gather them and just try to improve from there?
So I'm not as skilled as you when it comes to technology in terms of like coding or developing technical projects. But I do kind of keep track of key trends that are happening in the technology field and how those trends impact public sector. And IBM public sector includes government, healthcare and life sciences, and education.
Yeah.
And I always love, like you, I always am taking notes. I actually collect notebooks and have all of the notebooks that I've ever used um,
Yeah.
since I joined IBM. And it's just a great way to see not only what you are doing, but also, thoughts, side projects, goals, and so on over the years and how those have changed.
And what was your first impression when you started IBM?
I was really impressed and so proud to be an IBMer from day one. Around the time that I joined, IBM was celebrating their 100-year anniversary.
Yeah.
And IBM kind of considers itself the oldest tech startup because we've really been around for a long time. And I was just, ready to dive in. Was working long hours, but having lots of fun, building my network. Again, similar to what I did in college with internships, I took on a lot of different projects as a new joiner to IBM, and
Mm.
that really helped me grow my network, see what I like, and then landing one project leads to the next one and the next one. So it was kind of the most exciting years was the first few years at IBM.
What are your achievements this past year or with ever since COVID started, since it's been a little hectic?
Yeah, so COVID has definitely changed kind of the nature of everyone's day to day and how we work and how we collaborate. And actually, one of my proudest achievements is with the UN. So I've over the past 2 to 3 years, I've worked with UN DESA um, on learning conferences
Mhm.
in different regions of the world, so in Asia Pacific and in the Caribbean. And what we did was sessions on interactive sessions slash workshops with member states on how they can use systems thinking and design thinking to achieve the SDGs. And that
Yeah.
was really kind of my proudest moments by bringing my experience to IBM as the design thinking coach, which is kind of the badge I have at IBM, and applying it to the real world problems, to real world goals. And that's really been one of my proudest achievements um, so far in my career. But I'd love to know more about your internship with the UN. How's that been? What have you learned?
Well, so far, I'm with UNICC, the Organization of the UN, and like you said, we've also brought up the topic. Well, it was the first topic that we brought up and spoke about was the SDGs, and we did learn about the 17 uh, goals that the UN is trying to do by 2030.
Mhm.
And due to the pandemic, well, it's been a little hard for them to actually reach these goals because it was something unexpected. But as much as they're trying to actually continue with the same goal and trying to develop new ideas, it's actually worth it. And
Mhm.
so far, we're also doing certain projects like ITUs and the Talking Tech program with involving women and children. as well. I'm also working with the InfoSec organization for the annual report with one of my teammates, and it's a little hectic as well, but we're trying to gather information, and by that we're using and making meetings with other staff members of the UN or like the main managers, and
Hmm.
just see how far we can go and try to achieve a little more than the previous report. But yeah. If you could change one thing about your career, what would it be and why?
It's hard to say if there's anything I would change because I think everything kind of happens for a reason, and sometimes if you're disappointed in your career, it ends up being for an even better opportunity. So when one door closes, another opens. I
Yeah.
think the one thing that I may have changed is gotten a master's degree a couple of years ago, because now the longer you stay at a company, it's hard to leave and go and pursue additional education. So
Yeah.
that's something I think I would have changed. But other than that, I don't think I would change anything else. I'm glad I picked the company that I picked and that I did diverse internships as we discussed. Um, and by joining IBM in Dubai, I actually got to travel around the world, which has been pre-COVID, pre the pandemic, and that's also been really fun and really enlightening and eye-opening.
And speaking of COVID, how did it affect your work life or your work experience throughout the year?
I would say, so working from home and working remotely, I was already doing to a certain degree, not every day, but due to the nature of my team is around the world. So we have colleagues in every single geography. So we were equipped with the tools to work from home,
Yeah.
but it was definitely a challenging transition to go to lose that social aspect and that face-to-face aspect that we get from the office. However, the workload kind of even increased during the pandemic. A lot of public and private sector organizations needed tech companies to help them with the tools to enable their workforces to work from home. So we did have a lot of work to do, and I feel proud of the work that IBM did to help ease some of the challenges that came from the pandemic.
Yeah. And speaking of projects, can you mention some of them or the projects that you feel more proud of?
Yeah, so for example, IBM developed something called the IBM Digital Health Pass, which allows you to show your vaccination or PCR status. Um, it was launched in New York and
Yeah.
in several other places. So that's kind of one of the ways that IBM helped with the pandemic. Another way is citizen chatbots. So helping kind of cities and counties set up chatbots to help answer questions from constituents about, services, lockdowns, etc. So that really impacted because call centers became overwhelmed, right? With all
Yeah.
the questions and the confusion, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. So that's another example. Also helping out students who had to work from home. So actually configuring iPads and laptops so that students would be able to study and work from home just
Yeah.
with a 1 day notice. So that's another type of project that was done to help with the pandemic after effects.
Well, for me, one thing I do believe is that before success or achievements arrive, there's always small mistakes. So by this and the success that you have there any moments where you had like small failures or small mistakes that you wish you could fix?
Definitely, there have been small failures, big failures, rejections, kind of over the course of being a student and working professional.
Yeah.
Um, and not getting my dream job, or not getting a promotion or a role that you want, or even just making a mistake, missing a deadline. So these things happen, and I think my advice would be to learn as much as you can from whatever happened and to come out even stronger on the other side. Um, And I believe that everything kind of happens for a reason, and it's all just about learning and embracing that.
So I agree with you. I like your perspective with just learning as much as you can and trying your best to actually pursue something that you want. And if it happens, well, it happened. And
Exactly.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, this also falls into like with support. So as much as you had the support from your family, do you have any advice towards women or young girls who don't have the support to follow their career or technical field?
Yeah. So I would say it's really important to find mentors and sponsors that can help kind of guide you and support you as you make career decisions or as you decide what field you want to go into. And now with technology, the world is so connected and it's so easy to access literally anyone you want. So using tools like Twitter, email, setting up coffee chats or informational interviews, I think there's so much you can get out of just connecting digitally and um, getting advice from people that might have, spent a few years in the tech industry. And then as what you did yourself, kind of, there's so many online programs and communities and networks that you can join, especially like Girls Who Code, things like that, where you can, learn from your peers and contribute to kind of digital projects to really see if this is the path that you want to take. That would be my advice. What about you? What would you say, since you're also a woman in tech, a girl in tech?
Well, my advice would just be keep pushing yourself because, in a way, some people do give up easily, some don't, depending on how they grew up or their own experience, which I respect. But at the same time, I feel like if you're getting talked down on or just not seeing what you expect to actually see as results, I feel like you should just push yourself and see all that negativity as a motivation to actually keep working and proving them wrong. Because, what if you actually do take the risk and actually succeed? You never know, but at least you won't regret not taking the chance or just accepting the fact that you could have done better or found new ways or methods to actually improve from that experience. And I think that's
Hmm.
something I would say. Basically to sum up this interview, with the last year's achievements and the progress and experience that you made, do you have any future ideas or goals that you expect or any challenges in mind that you want to overcome later on?
That's a good question. I think I want to, as we mentioned before, I want to kind of continue my education um, in like a master's level, or just to continue to get certificates to grow my knowledge, not just of the technology itself, but of complementary disciplines like what does technology mean for public policy, or what does it mean for law and the regulatory environment. So I see
Yeah.
that as kind of the next step in my journey. And also, hopefully, as we start to recover from the pandemic and it becomes an, hopefully this all goes away soon.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to working with clients again, face to face, leading teams, and just continuing to grow and learn in this space. So that's what I'm looking forward to next. What about you? What are your plans now that your internship is ending?
Well, I will actually apply what I've learned through my college career or my path right now. So I start classes in like I believe in 2 weeks. It was apparently next week Friday, but I don't have school on Fridays, so thankfully I start the following Monday, which
Okay.
is the 31st. I believe so. Or 20, I don't even know. But yeah, I just basically apply for that and try to see if I can develop my expertise a little more than what I know already and find more
Hmm.
resources to actually improve and see if I could just create new programs or just like mess around and just have basically fun with it because at the end of the day, why would you work on something when you can't actually have fun? You know?
Hmm.
It's just like a regular job.
Exactly.
Why would you stay in that job if you don't even like that job? Mm.
Exactly. Great. Good luck with your classes and your uh, I guess it's your undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope we get to stay in touch and kind of see where your career goes.
Thank you so much.